Call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Cindy,
Here.
Seth,
Here.
Todd,
Here.
Andrew,
Here.
and Crystal.
Here. First period for public comment. No one is here. Is anyone online? No. Approval of committee minutes from January 21st, 2025.
And this is Crystal, and I would move approval of the committee minutes from January 21st, 2025.
Todd will second it.
Motion by Crystal, second by Todd. Approve the minutes. Any further discussion? Comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Discussion with possible action on lead service lateral 2024 grant.
Okay, so we'll discuss no action this time, but we are moving farther along. The DNR is, so the PSC did approve the fact that we did not need to do a rate change. They liked our plan. It took them a little longer to get back to us because with our creative plan that we had, they wanted to make sure their I's were dotted, T's were crossed, so they consulted their counsel as well. But they were very excited that we came up with such a creative idea. That being said, we do have some things we need to pass. So I did contact our city attorney yesterday, got him moving along on our financing agreement, and then there will be an ordinance that needs to be passed, stating that if a property owner does need financing, that there needs to be an ordinance in place before we can do that. So the city attorney will be putting together that ordinance, and then there is an agreement that needs to be drawn up that the attorney will draw up that we can sign with the property owner and us. And that will lay out all of the terms of the financing agreement. So that I think will be coming next Public Works meeting, possibly. And then once we get that in, we'll move forward and we'll get our closing date. And then I'm fairly positive we'll be able to start our grant construction projects then probably early spring. So we're moving along. Yes. I think Sarah and I did have, well, I had some satisfaction because they said exactly what I thought they were going to say a year ago plus. Even though I forwarded all the documentation that the DNR had and the PSC had on their own websites that said we did not need to go through the PSC. So there was some validation there, but you know, you have to go through it, and I did it for 10 years. So at least for 10 years, as long as we keep getting funding. And if we haven't replaced everything that needed to be replaced, we're good for 10 years.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm. That's it for me.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I think we just have to turn it on. You got that, Nate?
Yeah, I'll just give me a second.
Which one am I picking? Let's see. This one. Okay, so I asked Town and Country Engineering, which is our engineering firm that we use for our wastewater treatment plant upgrades. I kind of have consultants that I put in certain categories, and the wastewater treatment plant is obviously very complicated. And so I really make sure that we have somebody that's really well versed in what they're doing out there. And so that's why we continue to go back to Town and Country Engineering when it's specifically water treatment facility stuff, because they're just one of the top firms in the state that does this, and they particularly do a good job in communities of our size. So this is me asking to them and said, I really need to get a good handle on the status of the wastewater treatment plant and start moving forward to thinking about like what's next, because it's really easy when you spend $10 million on a facility that you're like, we're all done for a while, but life not like that. For a couple of reasons. The biggest one is that we did not actually upgrade every single piece of equipment. We upgraded about 80% of the equipment. So it was a lot. It was huge, but there were certainly parts that we knew still had life left we didn't replace yet, or we knew that in the future we might need to add something and we were waiting for that time, because why put something in before you need it? And when we did, every time you do a significant upgrade to a wastewater plant, or you apply for clean water funding, which is the DNR funding for sewer and wastewater stuff, you need to put a facility plan together. And so ours was done in 2015 because that was before the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. So there's a couple things that happen in this proposal for them. They're going to be like going through the whole wastewater plant, looking at the condition of each part of the equipment, which I really want somebody that has a good set of eyes on it looking at it, right? It just not me, not one of the other operators, but somebody who's like used to seeing the condition of things outside of our plant and what we should be seeing if we're not seeing what we need. And then also like making an update to our facility plan so that if we need to go forward with something, we have it in place, right? It needs to be updated. And as you can see, like in how they list number 3, there's things that weren't necessarily required when we did the upgrades, like looking at PFAS that are now a thing. So like, are we ready to think about what the future regulations might mean for our system? So in a way, this is somewhat like a detailed comprehensive plan and technical review of the wastewater system. And also looking at how we're meeting our goals. Are we where we thought we were going to be? So in the original plan, we have a lot of capacity. We have a lot of capacity, but when you look at plant capacity, there's different ways to look at it. There's like the water volume that comes in, and then there's like the treatment capacity. And then each of those parameters that we treat have a different kind of treatment capacity. So there's a lot of factors. And so like, are we really doing where we thought we were going to be doing? Do we still have the amount of capacity that we thought we would have? Because that's another thing that I continually have in the back of my head is like, there's a lot of development happening in Viroqua and we don't want to be surprised, right? We know we have flow for what we've got coming in the pipes, everything that I sort of, that was a pun I didn't mean to say, but like, all the stuff that's in the works right now, I feel very comfortable with. However, we really want to make sure that we're not going to have surprises in the future. And then there are things that I know, like for example, our UV system, we knew that it was aging out and we knew we were going to have to do something soon. So what's the new proposal? How much does that cost? That kind of thing. So they're really going to like scour the whole system, look at our loadings, our flows, get us in a good spot. They're not doing a user study, but they would like incorporate anything that we have, or if we have our financial advisor, Ellers had look at it or something like that. They would look at it in terms of financing things for the future. And again, like I said, this would be then our new facility plan. So all of that is not cheap, but they're really good about working up to a point. So they have a not to exceed of 17,500, but it's billed on an hourly basis. So if they do less work, it doesn't get billed fully. So I think this is a really valuable tool for us to have and to stay on top of. Though especially there's some key things like, for example, we just recently had an issue with the block heater on our generator. And those are things that, we looked at it 10 years ago, everything was fine, but now we got to be addressing it. It's like, we need to continually know, what's piling up against us. And maybe in some cases, things are aging out sooner or slower than we expect. So does this have to go to council? No, because it's a utility thing, or yes? Okay, so it would be to approve it to go on to council.
I like the idea that we're being proactive. Did you say that we would, if it's approved by council, they'd do this pretty soon?
I feel like we're well ahead of the game. So they would start soon, but it's not a panic. We're not like, a lot of times we need to move as quickly as possible, and I'm not feeling panicked about this one. So, which works well, because we want to make sure that we have like funding available to do it, and I'll talk about that a little bit. We have funding, but just making sure we're in a good spot for everything. So,
I'm sure 17.5 is much cheaper than what it could be if there's something that needs to be replaced and that we could have taken care of something earlier, like the library, I'm thinking of.
well, I certainly don't want to be in a situation where we have problems with key components, like our UV system, for example. We are mandated to have disinfection. So if for some reason that broke down, I mean, we have redundancy in the system, but just the unit itself is getting old, we'd be in big trouble. And that would cost a lot of money to get something in there temporarily or get it fixed immediately. So yes, theoretically, it's a proactive way of looking at it.
Anyone want to ask any more questions, comments, make a motion to send it to council?
No, I think it's a great plan. AJ, here, I would make a motion to move the proposal from Town and Country Engineering for the wastewater treatment facility assessment on to council.
This is Crystal. I'll second.
Motion by AJ, second by Crystal. Any further discussion? Okay. Do we have to do a roll call? Yes.
Seth,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
and Cindy.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Review and approval of pay request number 3 for 2024 sewer project.
All right, believe it or not, they're still rolling along on the sewer project. They are, I wouldn't say they're paused right now. They're waiting for the next step, which I can talk about in a little bit. But this is not where they are today. There is work that they've done since last week that's not on here. But this is a good lot of the work that we have seen in the last little bit. There's not a ton of surprises on here. I'll point out the ones that are, I guess, unexpected, not unexpected, but not a part of the quantities that are listed. So the big thing is on our storm sewer side here. So there were a couple things that happened. We crossed under Chicago Avenue, and there were some adjustments made to the sewer to accommodate Hanson Farm. And in all of that, they ended up getting a little lower than they expected. And then it started, when you looked at where the storm sewer came out, it was like, this isn't going to work. And we ran into a couple things. One, we ended up extending the length of the storm sewer, to go like around the bend instead of like a straight shot. We didn't like how it looked. It was coming out and we knew we were going to have erosion issues. And then the other thing we ended up dealing with was there was a Darylin power pole. And it's not on this pay request. It should be on the next, but we ended up putting shoring up against the pole. And the idea was that we didn't want water to start eroding the base of the pole, because the pole was only, he said 8 feet in the ground, which seems amazing to me. It looked like it should be more, but in any case, we were like right at that elevation, and we just don't want to start undermining things there. So in that situation, we ended up extending the pipe, the 36-inch pipe. So that's why this quantity here, zoom in a little bit, it says 122%. So we ended up having roughly like $2,450 worth of additional pipe, which is well within our contingency. I can talk about that too. The other one here, it looks like it's different. I mean, it is different, but it says 200%, so that would be double the amount. But if you look, there was a quantity of 1 for this end wall and a quantity of 1 for this end wall. And they ended up using 2 of the 48 by 76, and they're not going to use any of the 43 by 68. So it was a substitution. So it ends up being different by 1,500, but it's not different by 9,000. And then the big one is here, this granular backfill trucked in, which was $6,000 more. And the reason is that when they started, the pipe went, let's see, might be easy to explain with a picture instead of using my hands. When they went on Marquette and turned onto Chicago Avenue with the sewer, they ended up digging up old construction materials, which makes sense because it was a landfill area previously, and it was not in the road base. So when they were building the road, they weren't necessarily removing it, but we did run into it. And so they couldn't put that material back into the road, right? Like side shoulder area, because that would mean that we don't have good materials in there, right? There was a lack of materials. We don't want to just put anything back in. Whoops. So it was like right in this area here. Oh, of course, you're gonna look funny. Right in this area here, we ended up having materials that were needed to be removed. I am in a very weird angle here. I don't know what it's doing, but it's right there. Right. I don't know why it's blue, but yeah, it was right in this area here. So that was why we saw a different number there, which thankfully it was a chunk, but it was nowhere near the chunk of change that it could be when you see 900 times or 900%. So yeah, that was for this pay request, what we see. And with the current like additional quantities and the ones that we know we've spent, but we haven't got on this pay request yet, it would be for the next pay request. Our contingency is at 55,000, and this is less than 20,000, and we're halfway through the project. So that's a good spot to be in. We're not expecting a lot of additional issues on Broadway or Railroad Avenue. We are coming up around like the Hanson Farm down Sands Road and along the north side of Sands Road. Then we cross Main Street and we're going to be on the east side of Main Street. So that area could be, so it's good that we still have $35,000 of contingency left. But if you remember how we were funding this, we expected to put in $300,000 worth of sewer reserve. But the bid came back good, and the EPA ended up covering 100%, putting their money first. So we ended up being closer to 121,000. So even if we were higher than our contingency, we're still lower than our original budget estimate. But we always refine it as we go. Once we get bids, we drop our contingency to 5%. So I think we're looking good. And then as mentioned before, we always see this weird negative number on our change order amount. And that was because we had the stored materials. So as they use them, they start taking it off. So even though if you look at the very top, it has a change order amount, it's not a true addition. It's just a placeholder that then it gets removed from as we continue to take it off. So the current payment due for this pay request is $163,551.35.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Want to make a motion to approve?
This is Crystal, and I'd move approval for the pay request number 3 for the 2024 sewer project in the amount of $163,551.35.
Todd, I'll second it.
Motion by Crystal, second by Todd. Any more comments or any questions, comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Todd,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
and Seth.
aye,
Okay, motion carries. Discussion with possible action on annual maintenance agreement with HNN.
All right, so H&N has been our go-to HVAC contractor that we've been using particularly for the library. And so because we are now Public Works, including facility maintenance, we have to worry about other people's buildings or at least other departments' buildings, right? So we have on here what should include just the heating at the library, not the AC. That they've told us they want somebody like Johnson Controls or another controls company to take it on. They feel it's complicated. So it would be the heating side. That's what the 2 boilers at the library are. the 5 splits at the city hall. So that would be the heating and cooling here in this building. The units that are at the police station. And then also the current fire station. So this is an annual maintenance agreement. So they would come for the heating before the heating season starts and do preventative maintenance, cleaning out everything they need to in the boilers or whatever system that they're looking at. And then it would be also in the cooling season for everywhere that I listed except for the library. And so this is just like they just come in and they plan that we're going to do this every year going forward. So this would come out of the building maintenance
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, so 3 out of the 4 buildings are typically any maintenance work is done out of a general building maintenance budget. The only one that's an outlier in there is the fire station. The fire station, similar to the public works shop and the park and rec building, typically have their own maintenance budget that is embedded within their departmental budgets to take care of, anything that goes on within their buildings. And then we just have a general one for the library, city hall, and police department. So I wasn't able to get a hold of Chad just yet today. And so I don't know exactly how much of this would be broken out into his GLs, but it would be fairly small, probably to the tune of around $700 would be Chad's responsibility, and everybody else would sort of take on more of the lion's share. And so the building maintenance budget certainly has the budget to handle this, and given some of the struggles that we've had over the years with HVAC systems, preventative maintenance is an absolute must in my opinion, and the building maintenance budget is exactly what this is for, right? So I would have, from a budgeting standpoint, I think this is very worthwhile.
It doesn't seem like a lot for what we can gain from it.
We don't want any more
Surprise.
we've dealt with.
With
AJ,
the
some-
6 package units at the police station and no filters included for not knowing what or how many would be needed, is there a reason they wouldn't just go and look or call Rick and see?
Yeah, we
what's-
can certainly sort that out with them. I think they were just they had been in there, from what I understood, already one time, but they just hadn't gone a second time to look before they gave us the estimate. And I'm assuming they're already ordering filters. The police department is like, we were taking a slow approach about buildings. So like when we first started doing the facility maintenance, it was city hall and the library. And we're just kind of like starting to reach out and say, okay, we feel like we're comfortable taking care of those buildings. Now we'll start reaching out to the police department. So, but yes, we'll have to get that sorted.
Good question. Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
Is AJ, I'll make a motion that we approve the annual contract with H&N Services to the tune of $3,800.
Motion by AJ. Do we have a second?
This is Crystal. I'll second.
Second by Crystal. Did you have anything to comment, Seth?
No, I definitely am a fan of preemptive maintenance as well. So it seems quite reasonable for mechanical coverage. So
Okay.
all good.
Roll call, Lori.
Todd,
Aye.
Andrew,
Hi.
Crystal,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
and Seth.
Okay. Discussion with possible action on options for utility department use of old fire station.
Well, I guess this kind of was brought forward with sort of coming from 2 veins. One was we took, I would want to say a detailed look when we worked with Keller to look at like, what are we talking about if we're talking about a new public works building? Because people would come to me all the time and be like, how much for a new public works building? And then I'd say, I don't even want to guess because I know I'm going to be wrong. And it is not cheap. Let's just put it that way. So we knew the idea of getting into a different location or a different building is nowhere near now, right? Like 10 plus years out, right? And then obviously the fire station, the current one, is going to be empty. And so we thought we should go take a look, and it ended up being that we thought the utilities would be a good fit there. We did debate about who that would be, but we came down to the conclusion that it made more sense for the utilities to go there if we were to split up. I will say that I really held back on that one for a while because I feel there's so much benefit to keeping the utility and the street guys in the same space. However, when we looked at our space, like one of our biggest issues is just space, right? Like there's things in the current Public Works building that need to be updated, meet code better, whatnot, but space is just like there was always a lack of space, and it actually caused safety issues because of the fact that things were crammed in there. So the nice thing about this is it frees up a good lot of space that is now currently occupied by the utility side. I guess another really nice benefit of this situation would be that it gave us some time to figure out what the plan is, right? It gives us space immediately. The guys looked at it. They didn't really feel like there was much that needed to be done to change it for the utilities. Like, there was deficiencies for it to operate as a fire station, but those are not the same deficiencies that would impact us, right? Like we don't really cook big meals. We don't come in with contaminated gear that we need to deal with in the same way. And then it's kind of set up nicely for us to just operate better. So we have been very serious about taking that on. And we've been talking about some preliminary ideas about how we might go about it. I don't know if you want to jump in there or.
Yeah, so we still need to have some internal conversations, but just like preliminary discussions that I've had and Cheryl and Sarah's been involved in, we feel like there are certainly some ways to orchestrate this financially where it doesn't, burden either the general fund or the utility in a way that would be prohibitive. We still need to have, I think, more thorough conversations internally about exactly what that proposal would look like, but I do think there's certainly a path forward there. And so really that's where this conversation comes tonight, is to make you abreast of the situation, what we're thinking, bringing up what the initial sort of analysis of it looks like from it being operationally a good idea. Get sort of the blessing from this group to say, yeah, let's move forward, invest some time and additional work in pursuing that. And then we really start trying to formalize some ideas, work with the mayor and maybe Sean and other people, just to make sure we've sort of rounded the bases. But I mean, we've been talking about this on and off for 9 months now, and we feel pretty confident. The one thing I will say is that when we sort of broached this topic with Sean from Ellers, he said, no, I mean, if it's still a really solid building and you have use for it, it'd be a lot smarter to hang on to it until you need it, rather than selling it, getting immediate proceeds, and then realizing, oh shoot, we need more space. And I think the needs analysis that was done by ADCI and Keller have shown that space is a commodity we just don't have enough of at the current space. So this is a good stopgap method for, I say stopgap, but when I talk to Sarah, like the next 10 years certainly doesn't feel like a stopgap method, right?
Long-term.
It's a long-term, short-term solution,
Yeah.
right? So, so overall, I'm feeling pretty positive about it, and we just need to do some additional due diligence at this point.
I will say that's one of the biggest things when we looked at a new public works building possibility in the future is where. And that space is actually not a bad space. I mean, it would have to be the whole space because there's the property beside it, but we also own the well 2 property. So it's like just sort of adjacent to it. And then we also have the shed or the garage that's just across the street on the other direction. So I'd hate to lose that opportunity for that to have like be value for us in the future. Cause when you're citing something like that, you don't want to put it necessarily on the outskirts of town, right? Cause then when you got to do stuff, you got to go all the way to the other side. And so finding a good central location was really tricky. Like, I mean, again, this was all theoretical, but there's not a lot of central locations in Viroqua that's big enough for what we were looking at. So it gives us some time to work through things and think and not lose good real estate.
So you need a motion for us to carry on, or just is this just kind of more advisory?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be helpful to just have a motion that sort of authorize us to move forward and explore this further, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
I think really what we want to know is like, does anybody have any misgivings about us pursuing this further at this time, right? We're not asking you to lock into it. We just want to know, is there any initial, hey, have you thought about this? Or I really don't like this idea. We should really pull back on staff's use of time in looking at this. And if nobody has any issues, I think that's enough for tonight.
I think it's better than, I know what the original plan was, like, talk about selling it. I mean, that's, to Sarah's point, being centrally located in the middle of town is not something you get nowadays.
My only concern was what you addressed. We thought the fire department would work there after the police department worked out, and we decided that it wouldn't. But you sounds like you've thought of the things that were a problem for the fire department that would not be a problem for you guys.
That was my first reaction when the idea came forward. I was like, wait a minute. But at least from what I've read, it's, they're not the same issues for us.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys will do your due diligence and check it out before we get in too deep.
And I think being that we don't really have to, we're not looking at it and saying like, we need to gut the whole thing and redo it in order to be in there. Like the guys were like, we could just move in. So if it was like, it turned out to be this terrible idea, like we're not losing a lot in the process, right? Like we didn't have to buy a building. We didn't have to do a big renovation project. We're just trying it out, you know, so.
If you know what they're using now, that would be a step up. Yes. I would
Right.
think, yeah. So you want to do a motion just to show approval, support?
Sorry, I was just gonna ask if Todd, just having been part of the public works
Yeah.
department internally, did you have any thoughts on this? I mean, what's your, do you want to use your mic just so Seth can hear?
Yeah, excellent idea. It'd be a great fit for the utilities. Because ever since COVID, the utilities and street department aren't overly close anymore. Just, I don't know why, but ever since COVID, it's been that way. So I think with that being said, yeah, the street department could use where they're at, and they can, and I think as big as the fire department is, and I know what what the utilities got for equipment, would there still be, like, the street department could store some of their stuff in that building, like, because it's heated?
Well, I don't even know if we would need to. I mean, we've talked about it, but we've got like that pole shed that's north from the property from the county. We'd have to see, but I think we're going to have what we need for the utilities and be pretty solid in that building already. I mean, we have more vehicles than it seems, right? We've got stuff parked down at the wastewater plant just because there's space. We got stuff in the well, like beside well too, there's a pole shed that we store stuff in. So like we could start, I don't think there's going to be a lot of extra space, and I think the
Okay.
street should have enough, but that's all yet to be decided. I mean, what I really don't want to do, and you know, personnel being close or not, like they know what each other's doing, right? Because they can see things happening. Oh yeah, they're out or whatever, or they went and go to do that water leak. And so like there's like a connection of like an observance and understanding of like things that are going on either side, as well as there's Mark's in the middle and he's working for both, right? So like there is sort of that that benefit of being together. But I think for the pros outweigh the cons in doing that split. But so that said, I mean, if we're still like totally stuck, or not stuck, but squeezed into the shop from the street side, we're not going to say like, no, this is the utility building, you can't put anything in there. You know, we're still public works and we're still, you know, one unit. So But it's just the easiest way, I think, to set it up is to just have, that section move.
Did you want to make a motion to go ahead and do it? Check it out, continue with the option of.
Left with me to
pursue-
say.
Uh,
Gotta read.
yeah. Check out using the old fire station for the utility department.
Yeah, I'm making a motion for that.
You
works,
can
don't
do it, Todd, you can do
See, Flora's writing it down.
This is Crystal. I'll second Todd.
it. Oh, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, we want to try to get done by 7, so we gotta
Yeah,
get going here.
Before
Oh,
that.
I mean, 6.
Yeah.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
have a kid. who wants to pick
Surprise,
up at
yeah,
6.
Okay, possible closed session per Wisconsin stats
Yeah.
19.85(1)(c), considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governing body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Wastewater operator compensation. Motion
This
to go
is-
into closed session.
Crystal, I'd move that we go into closed session.
Ms. AJ, I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second, roll call.
Andrew,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye,
Seth,
Aye.
and Todd.
All right.
we are in close, if the recording is stopped, we're in a closed session. And everybody's kicked out. Yeah.
Sorry, whenever I have it in this format, it always takes. Back and open.
Out of closed session, reconvene in open session with possible action on items discussed during closed session. Anyone want to make a motion?
This is Crystal, and I would move that we move forward with the action as discussed in the closed session.
Ms. AJ, I'll second.
Motion by Crystal, second by AJ. Roll call, please.
Cindy,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and Crystal.
Aye.
Great. Motion carries. Sewer project 2024 update.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about some of the things that we've been encountering with it, with like the pole and changing things a little bit, by the power pole and the waterway there. So things are going pretty well. They've paused until we have, look at a situation that we have with, the way that the sewer and the storm sewer crossed. So we're currently talking to a property owner about having the pipe go partially through like a grass boulevard area. So we'll see how that goes. It's not our only option, but it just makes the best line. So we're talking with them. And I sent a letter to 6 businesses on Sands Road or just off of Sands Road, just making sure they know about the work that we'll be doing in the spring. So we're supposed to be stopping at the end of Sands Road for the winter. And I also wanted to let them know about that because most of the time they're accessing it through like the Hanson Farm property, but they will be using Sands Road. And for the most part, Sands Road's not that busy, but then on the food pantry day, it gets really busy. And just making sure everybody knows how their access is going to work. So if somebody asks you about it, we sent a letter and I'm following up with calling, in particular, Riley's Auto Parts. We're hopefully meeting them on Friday. That's what we're tentatively setting the time up. And they have a sewer easement that goes right in front of their building. And we are fixing one of those segments because it was in really bad shape and it was adjacent to the project. So we just included it in. One of the big things that we've been dealing with is obviously this is a grant, a federal grant. And so we've been kind of keeping a close eye on that. Cheryl did her disbursement program training so that we can get our money from them, and we've submitted things. So we should be in line to get a good chunk of change back, which would keep us up to date, but we haven't seen it yet. So they've been sending us information about the fact that there was that stay. They actually emailed, I think you got it as well for the FEMA project. And so as far as we know, things should just be moving forward like we expected. I think that's all I have on the sewer project. The guys did some work in the park to help Kale out with some of the trees. that were in bad shape there or related to the projects. I was working on, unfortunately, that federal grant, so hopefully it still exists. They did modify the title 2 days before it was due, so I pivoted. But I'm hoping that maybe that actually helps us because our project wasn't climate change related, and that was what they had taken out. And I keep saying this, but I think we're at the final drafts of the bike and pedestrian plan, so that steering committee will need to meet right away here. And in the, trying to keep in a timely fashion here, I think that's all I got, unless you have
Okay.
questions.
No. Utility update. You're doing good, Sarah.
Okay, let's see. So Greg said they'd been working on changing meters. We did have a situation where somebody tried to get into the water tower again.
The Eckhart Park one.
Yeah, so we're working with the police department on that one. We submitted it to them, and so I couldn't catch up with Rick today. I did talk to him, but he was going to call me back about it, and never got back to me today. But the better news is that they didn't get into the tower at all. What we did for changes worked. We also have alarms on it, so we will know if anybody opens the door. But it's still something we don't want to have happen at all. So we ended up putting lights up around it so we could see it better, because that's one of the bad parts about the Eckhart Park is it's like back and it's in a park, a public area where it's not unusual to see people. And so we have it lit. So if you see lights, that's what's going on. And save having a major complaint about it, we probably will put them up permanently, just because we can't have people up there.
So I know we've got, like, is there any surveillance we want to think about throwing up there at all, or like a,
Well, we do have, that's how we knew there's a camera up
Okay.
there. It's not the best camera in the world. And we have talked about getting like a really fancy version. They're about $25,000 for like the whole system kind of thing. But if we continue to have trouble, I mean, we certainly need to start thinking about it. I mean, it's not, in my time here, it was never an issue until recently that we've had knowledge. But now we know. I mean, now we also have camera that tells us somebody was there trying to do something, right? Like trying to get in.
And in the past, it was kids. Did you know that, or did you have a camera on them too? Okay, and this time it was an adult. It's with a hoodie.
It's a little bit different story, but we knew it was youth. Let's see. I got contacted by the DNR about our service line material inventory. They had two things they wanted us to fix, which they said they're sending out a ton of deficiency letters, so that's good that we're not getting one. But one of the things they wanted was a form they didn't think we had submitted, but then I showed them we did submit it. And the other one was just, I had NA in a column and they wanted me to put other and then make another column that said, we have no data. So I got to fix that in about,
It's
I only
crucial.
took like 2 minutes to fix it and I sent it back. And so I haven't heard from them since, but they seemed happy with it, so.
Okay.
Let's see. I think that is it. I guess the only other thing is if you see on the news that Viroqua wants comments from the public about environmental impacts of our water main installation, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
I was not happy with Channel 8000's picture because they had a picture from Flint, Michigan of a copper and I was like,
Oh, no.
you're not putting two and two together, but in any
Oh,
case,
no.
what it is for is our Center Avenue. We applied for funding for doing the Center Avenue reconstruction to the DNR. And now anybody who applies for DNR funding automatically triggers that public comment. And so they put it out, the DNR put it out themselves.
It was on the radio this morning too.
But it was everywhere. It was like the top news story.
It's been a slow day.
And that's what I was like, there really is not much to it. It's excavating inside the road that's already disturbed. Like, it's not like we're
not like-
going into a wetland or something like that, but Anyway,
Or they discovered problems with the water or something. That's what people take it, I think.
yeah, I don't really know why they did that.
And then they show that picture, and that's from 2018.
No, I know, of all places,
Yeah.
but there's not much we can do about it, so.
Okay, Cheryl.
Well, this time of year I sound like a broken record, but just working on year-end, beginning of year audit, and that will be done here at the end of February. Sarah mentioned I did take that training. It was required for me to be able to take disbursements. I had to take a 2-hour training class for the EPA grant. And Beacon, we are slowly making some progress, trying to get our Beacon software straightened out. About a month and a half ago, we were at 91 transmitters down, and today we are at 59. So we're making progress.
So you guys go check it then? Or call them and have them read it back? Is that what you-
No, so when the transmitters have failed, we are thinking we have a bad batch of transmitters that
Yeah.
came in 2014. We are sending these all back for warranty.
Right.
So we're changing out the transmitter and just giving them the new Orions. So it gives us better data.
But I mean, how do you get the readings? What is
Oh,
missing?
when they go to change out the transmitter, they give me the meter reading. So then I know exactly what the meter said versus what we recorded, and then I
Oh.
make adjustments.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Good question.
Very good. Anything else? Seth, do you have anything?
I do not appreciate the updates.
Okay, second period for public comment. Nobody's here. Anybody online like to make a comment? Okey doke, adjournment.
Todd will make a motion to adjourn.
AJ, I'll second.
Motion by Todd, second by AJ to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi,
We are adjourned. Thank you so much. We made it before 6.
thanks, guys.